we're also going to try recording the meeting. We've had very degree of success with that, but we do hope that we can use what is learned from today for future sessions. OPSS who's going to say a few words about the why behind Better Business for All. So Duncan, if you'd like to.
Thanks, Jackie. Can you hear me, Jackie?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Thanks. The connection was a bit. Okay, I'll press on. Welcome everyone to this Northwest Regional BBFA week.
Yes, I can hear you.
For 2020. It's great to be able to just kick this one off. I'm from Congleton in Cheshire originally, so it's great to hear good things happening in the Northwest. We're all very conscious right now that collaborative working has never been more important. Obviously, businesses are really struggling, so can you hear me, Jackie?
Yes, I can hear you. It's a bit crackly, but you're there. Okay. I can hear you.
That's fine. Sorry. So obviously, I say collaborative work has never been more important. Businesses are struggling at the moment with COVID, but never mind how much business is struggling. Regulators are struggling at the moment. New regulations out this week, last week, most weeks, which is making life really, really challenging for local regulators. So Better Business for All is our flagship product for local regulatory collaboration. It's been running about 10 years. It's a great product. It really works. It transforms regulatory relationships in places, and we've got more than 80% of LEP areas now participating. So we're really proud of this product, and we're proud to be pushing it hard in the Northwest. It's great to see that all 5 growth hubs in the Northwest are joining this week. Obviously, Better Business for All is all about positioning regulators as part of a business support package. So fantastic to see the growth hubs engaging. And of course, this is part of the OPSS's regional approach with the strategic regulatory network in the Northwest, and also with the Northwest PA regional group. So as I say, fantastic that the OPSS team has got this exciting lineup for this week. Fantastic that all these people from the Northwest are going to be joining. So back to you, Jackie, and I wish you well for your week.
Thank you. I understand my introduction was a bit crackly, so you may not have heard what I said. But I think Duncan's covered the introduction to the header. I hope you all enjoy it. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about BBFA, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about theory, because the sessions that will follow are really about the practical stuff, and it's about the outputs that we seen now. So Better Business for All is about bringing together regulators and business support providers in a region to support economic activities. And I'm sure you'll all agree that collaboration is extremely important. It's probably never been as important as it is at this point in time. And I'm sure you're doing a lot of collaboration in your region already. The difference with Better Business for All is that you have that crucial business insight, and that helps if it's around solutions for businesses or just to support the economic priorities in an area. And there are 4 principles around Better Business for All, and they are that they're local. It's usually in a geographic area. The example that you've got in the Northwest is the Greater Manchester Centre for Regulatory Excellence, which is a well-established Better Business for All programme. That it's growth focused. Regulators have thousands and thousands of contacts with businesses every year. And they are there at every stage in the business life cycle, from startup to growth diversity, innovation. Sadly, when a business dies, you will find that regulators are there in that role as well. And particularly at the moment around economic recovery, I think it's extremely important that regulators are part of the business support package. Better Business for All is meant to be practical, and it is about doing stuff as opposed to talking about stuff. And as I've said, it is about a collaborative partnership. So it's really, really important that we build relationships with all of the people that support businesses. So I'm not going to talk in depth about any more than that, because I'm going to let the absolutely eminent speakers tell the story themselves this afternoon. But our afternoon today is built around 3 areas, which is setting the scene in the Northwest, actually hearing from the partnership about how they did set themselves up, and then some really good examples of outputs that have come out of Better Business for All partnerships. Khadija, can you put the next slide on? So I've just put this quote on because I think this absolutely sums up the importance of Better Business for All at this point in time. And this has come from a manager in the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Better Business for All programme. And really it's a comparison of Better Business for All and No Better Business for All. And actually what they found there is, having built these relationships and developed the partnership in that area has actually made a real difference in the ease that the way they've been able to coordinate and support businesses during COVID. I think that was really, really worthwhile sort of hearing that quote. Next slide, please. So just to remind you, you should have received this in your delegate pack, but this week is about a taste of Better Business for All. We couldn't possibly capture everything that's come out of all of the programmes in the 10 years that the Better Business for All programme has been running. But it's also an opportunity for you to meet colleagues who offer support to businesses, to find out how they do that, what they can offer you in terms of collaboration and what their offer is. So I don't know if you've signed up to all of the sessions, but I would urge you to drop into as many of these as possible, so that you get some idea of the fantastic work that's out there in this business support field. So I'm now going to hand over to Dave Watson, who's the chair of the Northwest Strategic Regulation Network, and Dave's going to talk about setting the scene in the Northwest. So I'll just hand over you there to you, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Welcome, everybody. I'm really grateful for people giving up their time this afternoon. I know we're all incredibly busy at this point in time, so very grateful for both the attendees and the people that have given up their time to talk, so we can learn from their experience in terms of our programme across the Northwest. So the first point I would like to make really is BBFA can be anything that we'd like it to be. It's a framework, it's a product, it's an opportunity for us to use that in a way to our advantage and to build on what we do best. It also helps us to make our services resilient and relevant to businesses, so that we can sustain those services moving forward. So it's something I'm very keen to embrace at a local level and to move forward our programme across the Northwest. I think it's fair to say that we implement the tools of BBFA in everything that we do. We already support businesses and we have hundreds of thousands of interactions with businesses every year, and we can use those interactions to increase awareness and to develop our local partnerships. Some businesses are aware of our role as regulators, but not necessarily aware of our role as educators and service providers. So it's an opportunity really to build up our relationships with local businesses and establish a BBFA framework. The other thing that I'm really keen to achieve is obviously to work more closely with our LEP and our growth hubs. The LEPs link into national priorities and have access to funding, whilst the growth hubs are absolutely fantastic at representing businesses, but also linking in regulators to other groups that support local businesses. And it's my experience that businesses welcome quality advice and appreciate the intervention of a regulator in terms of providing good quality support. So that's something that we can again build on across the Northwest. So what do North West local authorities get out of BBFA? Well, I suppose the most obvious one is we do have access to funding, and that funding is there to support partnership ideas across the North West region. It's enabled us to put on training for both regulators but also for businesses, and it's an opportunity to network as well. But importantly, it also gives us access to government's departments, particularly at this point in time, which is really useful in terms of understanding where the governments are going in terms of some of the policies and legislation. So that's really welcome. The other point I'd like to make as well is that we're a very significant region. We have LEPs across Cumbria, Lancashire, Cheshire and Warrington, Greater Manchester and Liverpool. So we can be a big player with a large influence, and I think we need to build on that and build on the work of our LEPs and growth hubs, which is already taking place. So if I could just move on to the next slide, please. Oh, we've already jumped ahead. Anyway, so yeah, just in terms of the outcomes then. So this is the last slide from myself. So basically the outcome that we'd like to get from this network meeting is to work together, to learn from the valuable contribution of the other regions, to increase our knowledge of each other, but also to increase our awareness of businesses and to develop our links with the growth hubs and the LEPs. So again, just incredibly grateful for people giving up their time and for colleagues for participating in the meetings this week. So that's it for myself, Jackie. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jay. That was great. And if anybody is interested in starting a conversation around developing better business for all pro North West, please come back to us after this week or during the week, or if you've got any thoughts on anything around collaborative working as we progress, we'd really like to hear from you. I can see my network is playing up again. So I'm going to very quickly, and hopefully I'll be able to do this, introduce our next speaker, who's Paul Hobbs from the South East region, who's going to describe how they put together such an effective programme in the South East and some of the achievements they have made. So I'll just hand over you to Paul.
Thank you, Jackie. Thanks very much for the invite as well. Yes, I've been asked to give a short presentation on our journey as environmental health on the group that we set up, how we set it up and where we're going from here. If I could have the first slide, please, Linda. So at Horsham, we're already very much aware that the regulatory landscape is changing, that central government are keen that regulatory burdens which are restricting businesses from progressing are overcome. And when we were first sold the idea of BBFA for all group, it gave us an ideal opportunity to engage with local businesses in our area, to deliver the support they need to grow and to provide business advice and guidance. And it would enable us to use other interventions other than regulation to get businesses compliant and to become successful. Have the next slide, please, Khadija. So we set up the Sussex Better Business for All group, formed it in 2015. And for those of you who know your geography, you'll know that Sussex is down on the south coast there, and it's actually divided into East and West Sussex, and that incorporates two county councils which made up the group, both East and West Sussex County Councils. Trading Standards of Fire and Rescue were the main partners there. All the districts and boroughs were also invited along, as to the People's Republic of Brighton, who are sort of the only unitary authority within Sussex. They were invited to join us as well, and the Sussex Chamber of Commerce, who cover the whole of Sussex. And cutting across Sussex, we've got two business growth hubs. We've got South East Business Growth Hub and Coast Capital. So that was the initial membership that we set up, although the group isn't exclusive in any way, and any business support organisation or anyone who expresses an interest in becoming involved is invited along. Next slide, please. So in the early days, this saying that there's Jacks that do and there's Jacks that talk. And I think from the very early days of the group, we soon realised that really you've got to send the right level of officer along to the meetings. When we first set up, it did become a bit of a talking shop. The meetings were being held Friday afternoons. People were going along, having a cup of coffee and a digestive biscuit, having a little chat, and then finishing off ready to go home for the weekend. And nothing was actually getting done. So we had to sit together and sort of try and revitalise the group, regenerate it a little bit, and sit there and ask, what is the purpose? What are we actually here for? What are we trying to achieve? With all the various stakeholders around the table, you know, what expertise they bring, what have they got to offer? And we decided that really what we needed to do was get an early goal, get something down, get us a project or some kind of success, which would give us something to build on so we could maintain momentum in the early days. And because we were struggling quite a bit, OPS very kindly provided us with an ambassador, a regulatory ambassador who came along to help us start up the group. And she brought with her quite a number of templates and some sort of documentation that we're able to use, and we put together sort of terms of reference and set together an action plan and all the rest of it. And the other really helpful thing in those early days was going along to the regional network forums in the East Southeast region. We had representation from Kent in Hertfordshire, and they were certainly a lot further down the line of BBFA than we were, and getting advice and some sharing good practice with them was very, very useful in those early days. Next slide, please, Katinka. So when we got together, we decided that we were going to deliver the message out to businesses. And as a regulator, I think sometimes we are a little bit naive to assume that we know what's best for businesses. I think we think that we know what they want, not really what they need. And regulation isn't always the be all and end all for businesses. It isn't one of the things that keeps them awake at night. That there are other things that really worry them. And at the time, we had things like GDPR looming, and there were lots of different concerns for businesses. So we decided the best thing to do before we do anything was to listen to their needs, and actually we asked them the question, you know, what is it that keeps you awake at night? As a business operator, what things really concern you? What makes you really worry about the future of your business? And that message went out on a BBA survey monkey to all our businesses. Next slide, please, Khadija. And the results we got back was basically that businesses do see value in regulation. They see it as being something that creates a level playing field and something which gives them a yardstick in which to work to, and they know that if they comply with regulation that they're getting it right. But what they were telling us was actually it's not the regulation that's confusing, it's the messages that gets delivered that's confusing us. We get different conflicting advice from different officers at different councils. Some businesses that have outlets in different regions, in different districts and boroughs where their business crosses across Sussex, were telling us that some regulators tell them one thing, and then in another borough they'll get told something completely different. And so they were telling us that the actual delivery of the message was confusing, that they felt that there was a duplication of effort, that a lot of the things that we asked for in environmental health, trading standards also asked for, and to a certain degree so do fire and rescue, and they were asking to deliver the same message over and over again. And businesses just felt that less enforcement would really benefit, and they were looking for more advice and guidance that would help them contribute to more economic growth. Next slide, please, Katinka. So once the group is together and you've worked out your message, you've listened to your business, and you know what it is you're going to deliver, you have to think about the hurdles and pitfalls that present themselves to you. And certainly one of our biggest hurdles within West Sussex, within Sussex, is getting buy-in from other local authorities. Trading standards from both East and West Sussex are very active. But some of the other local authorities just don't see any benefit of BBFA. They just aren't giving us the buy-in. Sometimes it's lack of resource, it's lack of apathy, and it's some LA's just not seeing the bigger picture. So when you set your group up, you've really got to be prepared to sell it, to go out and to tell everyone what the benefits of better business for all are, what it can offer not only businesses but the regulators as well. You've also got to be prepared for personality clashes within the group. And the second biggest hurdle for us is trying to get buy-in at senior level. At the moment, buy-in for us is sort of at a particular level. But what we've seen is other BBF groups are particularly successful, those that have buy-in from senior management, much higher up the grade, and that is something that we're trying to encourage within our group. The other thing that can happen is that once you've delivered a project and you've got it, you've presented it and delivered it effectively, there is the potential to sort of rest on your laurels a bit, and that the momentum within the group can very quickly diminish. So you have to keep on top of things. And once you've delivered one project, you've got to be thinking about what you're going to be doing next. And you have to consider contingency plans as well. We had a very active member within the group who really did sort of inspire everyone and was leading the way, who just sort of changed jobs and left. And it really did leave a big hole within the actual group. And we had to work hard to try and get back that sort of enthusiasm that person had brought. So those are some of the hurdles and pitfalls that you have to consider. Next slide, please, Contiga. So what you have to do is celebrate your successes, try and sell it, try and sell what the group does, go out to your neighbouring boroughs and LAs, those that aren't actively engaged, and show them, this is what we've done, this is what we've succeeded. And what we've done today, our first ever event was a Better Business for All exhibition expo, where we had a venue, invited both regulators and businesses along to tell them what BBFA was all about, what the group could deliver. We've produced a couple of YouTube videos now, which you've got available on various sites. We put together a business directory which gives businesses within Sussex contacts for every department in all the LAs within the county. We put on some training, some food allergen training, and a practical training course on manufacturing of charcuterie meat products. And the great thing about those two courses was that regulators and businesses were invited along, and that creates a really interesting dynamic where you've got businesses and regulators in the same room being sort of preached to, if you like, about a subject where neither of them have very much knowledge about, particularly with the charcuterie. A lot of regulators there were unsure of what businesses need to do to produce a safe project. And so having regulators and businesses in the same room, at tea breaks and lunch breaks, listening to some of the conversations that were going on were very, very interesting indeed. And we've also done a number of presentations to various other groups and support organisations. We've produced a whole list of guidance and advice literature, a lot of which we've stolen, I have to say, from other BBF groups, in particular the Southwest and Hearts and all the rest of them. So thank you very much for that. I know it's there for sharing. And finally, last slide, please, Khadija. Our most ambitious project to date was the Sussex BBFA Roadshow, where we got a mobile display vehicle and actually took it out on the road. This was part of the BBFA Primary Authority project, Growth Hub and Primary Authority project, where we were selling primary authority to businesses. So rather than set up a seminar and invite businesses to come and see us, we decided to kit out a vehicle and go and see them. And we visited a number of industrial estates within Sussex, set it up, and went around knocking on doors, asking businesses to come and see us, have a cup of coffee, bake and roll, sit down with us, and we'll discuss primary authority. And it was quite a successful project. Got lots of people on board. It was fun to do as well, and it proved to be really, really successful. Final slide, please, Khadija. And I would like to say that's it, but what I'm going to say is that's it for now, because we are planning more projects in the future. We've just got back together again because of the COVID pandemic. We have not been liaising with each other, but we decided that now's the time to re-energize ourselves, get together and start thinking about the future. And so we're back together again, and we're looking for our next project. So I'd like to say thank you very much for the invite, and thanks for listening.
Thanks very much, Paul. And there's some really good examples there of some quick wins and some long-term projects out of a really successful BBFA programme that we have. So I'm now going to introduce you. We've got 4 speakers now that this afternoon that are going to talk about some outputs from BBFA programmes. I'm going to start by introducing Ian Smallbridge from East Sussex Business Growth Hub, who's going to talk about growth hubs and primary authority referral.
Good afternoon. Can I have the next slide, please, Khadija? Lovely. So this afternoon, I'm going to take a little look at what is a growth hub, what do we do, who do we do it to, sort of thing. The bodies and organisations that we partner up with to be able to do our job effectively. Then take a bit more of a look at Better Business for All and some of the outcomes and benefits, particularly to the Growth Hub. Paul's spoken very eloquently about the benefits to local authority and regulatory. Just like to look at how that's worked out for us, and then a little case study just to round everything off. So if I could have the next slide, please. Thank you. Primarily, growth hubs were set up starting about 2011, 2012. We opened the doors for business in 2nd of July 2015. We're and all growth hubs are a one-stop shop for business advice, business support, whatever hat you want to put on that, and access to finance. Working and supporting primarily SMEs, although we do a little bit of work with startups. There are 38 growth hubs across the country, all centrally funded by government. In the southeast, we're a little unusual. We work on a federated model. So within the southeast there are 3 growth hubs. There's ourselves in East Sussex, colleagues in Kent and Essex. That centrally funded model means that we are independent. We are independent in spirit and want to provide the best service for our customers, our businesses. We are completely free at the point of delivery. So to the businesses that we talk to, there is no cost. All growth hubs, and there are several represented this afternoon, will respond to the local business environment, the local business landscape, and do things a bit differently, but always with that independent, delivering the best support and advice. We're in a very changing and challenging business environment, and you will be finding that the growth hubs are responding to that need. Could I have the next slide, please? Could have the next slide, please, Khadija. Oh, no, gone but one too far. Brilliant. There we go. Working with partners. We're absolute tarts. We'll work with anybody from the public, private or third sector, as long as they can deliver the business support to be able to help the businesses that we're talking to. We work on a diagnostic and navigation basis, i.e. a conversation with the business, really get under the skin of what the issue is, because it's not always what they present with, and usually that shaking of the tree, as it were, unloads a load of other issues and opportunities. And then we navigate those businesses to the sources of support, and that can be from a range of organisations such as Federation of Small Business, Chambers of Commerce, Institute of Directors, other grant programmes, business support mentoring networks. We have a very large network across East Sussex, and I know that all the other growth hubs do as well. The navigators have a huge background knowledge and experience, but they cannot answer all the questions, and that's where we need to work with the partners, and in particular with BBFA. Can I have the next slide, please, Khadija? Thank you. Okay, so what were some of the outcomes that we found? I could actually lump those first two together. The demystification, because if we hadn't managed to demystify the regulatory landscape for our navigators, they probably wouldn't be able to pass that message on to the businesses that we're dealing with and help demystify it for them. We've got this two-way street working now. Primarily it was created through job shadowing, where my guys spent some time out with regulators and regulators spent some time out with my guys. And some of the conversations that were had with businesses were really quite comprehensive on those days. We also involved all of the team in that sort of creation and working with the BBFA team, the steering group. So they all managed to get that buy-in. And they took part in the BBFA Roadshow, which was very enjoyable. Ultimately, it helps the navigators, the Growth Hub team, to provide some really comprehensive, fully rounded support for the businesses, particularly at the moment when there's a huge need for that. Could I have the next slide, please, Khadija? Thank you. So out of that has come quite a lot of very positive things. We've seen the profile of the Growth Hub be raised. We've seen profile of regulation change and be raised, as Paul highlighted. It's also meant that the quality of advice and support that the team at the Growth Hub can deliver has been enhanced, and it does become much more comprehensive for the businesses that we're talking to. It's created a really valuable partnership. As I say, it's taken away that mystification, and it means that it's beneficial for the businesses because we do have that better relationship. We have a structured referral system in place, which works well, but it's actually those personal relationships that make all the difference. And as Paul highlighted, there's some really valuable learning going on. We've used the Hearts of Southwest COVID Toolkit. Thank you, guys. And that's been passed on to businesses and has been used by many of the organisations within our network as well. So it's that sort of relationship that really has been very successful and supportive for the businesses. Could I have the next slide, please? Albin Vauxhall, a little case study. Oddly enough, they're a business about half a mile away from where I'm sitting at the moment. They create fire safety systems, the sort of things that you see in underground railway stations, airports, big event places, where the system actually guides you towards the fire exits. Really cutting edge stuff, huge amounts in R&D and innovation. They approached the Growth Hub to explore the possibility of grant funding for a project they had, which thankfully, or hope, we were actually able to do. But out of that came the some information around they're growing, they're expanding, they're working abroad, they're working across a lot of the UK. And because of the relationship we had through BBFA, we knew about, the Navigator knew about primary authority and thought, no, this really sounds like the sort of thing that would be benefiting this organisation. Quick phone call, patently clear that primary authority would be a good way forward for them. We picked up the phone to the company, they said, yeah, I'd like to talk about that. And they've signed up for primary authority and they think it's a really great opportunity for them. So through that, we can see that the relationship between the Growth Hub and BBFA/primary authority really does have value for the businesses, and it's just being able to understand how to apply that would be great for the future. So that's me done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ian. That was really, really interesting presentation and really useful insight into perspective for the Growth Hub. So I'm going to introduce you to Kurt Janssen now from the Tourism Alliance, who's going to talk around tourism and SMEs. Welcome, Kurt.
Thank you, and thank you for the invitation to come along and speak to everyone today. I'm going to talk to you a bit about how to work with tourism businesses, giving you a bit of background information on the volume and value of the tourism industry, and then a route into how to work with the many businesses in the tourism sector, a lot of which are micro businesses. So if we could have the first slide, please. Thanks. Just a bit of background information. The Tourism Alliance is an umbrella trade association for the tourism sector. We pull together about 60 different membership organisations, mostly trade associations, but there are also other membership bodies. So we try and get businesses, no matter whether they're inbound, outbound, domestic, they're all members of ours. And the whole idea is that we develop policy, because tourism is such a broad area of the economy, pull that all together and lobby government with a clear and consistent voice on particular issues. Right, a little bit of background on the tourism industry, if we could have the next slide. So tourism is a really interesting area. Most other industries are defined by what they produce or the goods, the service they provide. Tourism is slightly different. Tourism is determined on who the customer is. So if the customer is travelling outside their usual environment or staying overnight, then the business that sells them a product or service is deemed to be part of the tourism industry. So we comprise travel, accommodation, attractions, activities, hospitality, pulling that all together. So it's very diverse, but it's also a very important part of the UK economy. It generates £147 billion per annum and employs 3.2 million people. Those 3.2 million people represent about 10% of the UK workforce. So it is a very large, but often hidden part of the economy. If we can have the next slide. So those 3.2 million people work in about 240,000 different businesses. And this is where tourism starts to get quite interesting, in that 90% of those 240,000 businesses employ less than 25 people. So it's very SME dominated. In fact, 80% of the businesses are micro businesses. So you get an understanding of how spread out and how small the businesses operating in the sector are. And one of the things that's worth noting is that a lot of people come into the tourism sector first having jobs somewhere else in the economy. So someone will leave their primary employment or retire and decide to start up their own business to provide additional revenue in their retirement. So you get a lot of people moving out of cities to rural seaside areas, starting up a B&B, a guest house, or converting a barn or something like that into self-catering accommodation. And these people, because they've come from other walks of life and then come into the tourism industry, have less of an understanding of the rules and regulations that cover tourism businesses. So they really are in need of support and guidance when it comes to regulation, because for a lot of them, this will be a completely new venture. The other thing about tourism is that tourism is spread fairly evenly right throughout the UK. In fact, there's no region in the UK that has less than 10,000 tourism-related businesses. The reason for that is that inbound tourism to the UK is people coming from overseas into cities, whereas domestic tourism in the UK is generally people going from cities to rural and seaside areas. Okay, if we can have the next slide. Now, how do you reach this very large number of very small businesses? And the one way of doing this is through a destination management organisation. The destination management organisations, every area will have one. They'll usually have names which have something like visit such and such in their title. In the north, there's Cumbria Tourism, Marketing Manchester, for example. So those organisations are what we call destination management organisations. They're usually funded through the council. Some of them are actually operated by the council, others are in a more arm's length relationship, but they all tend to have a council linkage of some sort. Most of their funding, well, a large percentage of their funding does come through the councils, but they have another leg, and that is local tourism businesses as members. So they have membership fees for small local businesses, and they pull together all the local businesses into a network to provide them with support and information. And this is a really good method of getting your information out to these people through the DMOs, because the DMOs have to show that their members that they're providing benefit. And one of the benefits that they have for their members is providing guidance and support on growing their business, on what the rules and regulations are related to a particular activity that they're doing. So it's a very good way of forming a partnership. The DMOs will absolutely love it, and it provides a great method for you to actually get to these small micro businesses, which are otherwise hard to reach. And the final slide. Great. Is another resource that you can tap into, and this is the Pink Book. It's a 200-page book that's produced by Visit England, which is the national tourist body. It's been going since 1997 and is revised and updated every 2 years. It has a distribution at the moment of about 20,000 businesses, but there is also an online version. I've put up the link there. This will be sent out to you. It provides small businesses with everything they need to know in a simple, straightforward manner on things like health and safety, licensing and consents, consumer rights and employee rights. So it's a great resource for you to use to bring people up to speed on what their requirements are. But also we'd like feedback from you as well, because we're just about to produce the new version of that. It needs to be published by the end of the year. So please have a look at it. If you see anything in it that you think needs to be revised, or there are gaps in it where it will be worthwhile putting in new pieces of information or guidance to businesses, please do so, and we will do that. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Kurt. And it's really interesting to hear about the Pink Book, because I'm a regulator by background, and I was certainly not aware of that. So I'm sure the regulators would be really interested in looking at that and giving you feedback as well. So I'm going to just introduce Jason Berry and David Hind from the Heart of the Southwest Better Business for All, and they're going to present on the COVID Toolkit.
Hi, I'm not sure whose fault it was. We've got the graveyard shift on a Monday afternoon. Can you see that?
Yes, that's fine.
Super. Okay. Well, as you've heard about Better Business for All, look, it's a partnership between businesses and regulatory services. Ours is made up of predominantly trade and standards officers, environmental health officers, also the fire service and the police, from literally every one of our local authorities, as well as the counties, because we cover Somerset and Devon, which we have 2 unitaries in, which is Torbay and Plymouth. We've also got 2 national parks. On the business element, we've got the Growth Hub, the LEP and the FSB. And just to give you like a feel for what our LEP looks like, I'll just be quiet and you can look at all the members, our partnership. So as you can see, there's a vast array of partners across the whole of the LEP area within the BBFA partnership, predominantly, like I said, trade and standards environmental health officers. And their role is to deliver projects across the LEP area, which is what they've always done, of course, until that happened. And so that happened, and all of a sudden everything was on hold. Locally at the BBFA, we decided that we would do something about that, and we pulled together a team, or Plymouth, I should say, give Plymouth credit where credit's due. They pulled together a team of environmental health officers and trade and standard officers from across the patch, and developed the coronavirus toolkit. The toolkit is got a whole bundle of risk assessments in it, checklists, even down to a sector-specific level. It's been name-checked today. I've heard that, and it's had a variety of different changes over the last few months, and so much so that now we've got a standalone risk assessment toolkit, and we've also got a reopening after closure toolkit. However, before all these different these updates came along, the first toolkit was like, okay, that's great, that's brilliant, we've done a toolkit, we can help businesses. How do we do that? What do we do? How do we get out to businesses? I know they're going to need to know what this is, because it's also so complicated. How do we do it? I know. Let's speak to our friendly one-stop shop at the Growth Hub. So we did. The partnership sat down with David Hind and spoke about how we can work together more than we have done previously, and I'll touch on that in a minute. But if I just introduce David Hind, who could talk about how perhaps he feels the Growth Hub sits with the partnership, it'll be quite useful. So over to you, David.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, I just want to broaden out a little bit and just talk about why, for us, there's benefits in the Growth Hub and BBFA partnership. What does it deliver? Well, for me, it's the knowledge and expertise that the partnership brings that is key to success. It is this that really drives the benefits that we deliver to businesses. The BBFA partnership badge itself, the branding and everything that sits behind it, brings enhanced credibility and reputation. It's a recognition that we are using our collective knowledge and expertise to produce quality guidance for businesses. Applying our knowledge to the deluge of COVID-related information for businesses, as Jason's reference is one such example. So through this partnership, we are sharing information and sharing communication materials. We're doing this through newsletters, via partnership events and things like that. We're sharing data, such as the number of businesses engaging with important topics. For example, reopening businesses safely and EU exit. We are seeing the benefits in terms of boosted business engagement and stakeholder buy-in, specifically in regulatory and related topics, areas for business that are not necessarily easy to get businesses to engage with. And I'd say as well, we're still learning how to make the most of this partnership. We're doing a lot of things, as Jason's describing, but there's still more to be done. So we're still learning, but we do know the journey together is worthwhile, and I look forward to more work together over the next weeks and months. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I appreciate that. So having had a long conversation with David, we all agreed that the COVID toolkit would be best hosted with the Growth Hub and use their networks to get us out to businesses. So the Growth Hub very kindly created a web page for it. And then we used that as the go-to place for any inquiries. They also use their newsletters, as well as the LEP being on board, sends it out on newsletters, and social media, of course. And then, okay, right, we've done that. That's a good way forward. What else do we need to do? Bearing in mind, we have all these local authorities scattered across the southwest, and we've got environmental health officers, training standards officers. Well, we know that they know, and we know, the economic development officers within the councils, and also the comms teams and planning. And so the BBFA partnership sends out a newsletter to its members, its partnership, and say, right, okay, tell all your economic development officers that this is available and this is where to go. Tell them to send it out to their businesses, and then also the comms team. So we were starting to get a bit of a flurry of local authorities using social media and all their links to send it out to businesses. And so it was getting quite an enormous number of hits on the website. But still, we thought, okay, well, that's quite good. But there's 70,000 businesses across the southwest, the great heart of the southwest LEP area. So what else do we do? And so we then just said, okay, look, we know all these organisations that we've been working with for an awful long time, the FSB, Visit Devon, Institute of Directors, Chamber of Commerce, Southwest Alliance. Let's send it all to them and see how they feel about it. So they connected in and said, that's great, we'll send it out to our members, and it was going really, really well. And we said, okay, right, perhaps all the local authority officers could connect up with all their local associations, much like what I've just shown, and much like the animation isn't working. So there we are. So we also sent the COVID toolkit out to all these small, if you like, organisations, local associations, etc. And they were very appreciative of it, and we got quite a bit of traction. So much so that we were co-opted, volunteers is the wrong word, co-opted onto various webinars. So we did a webinar for Exeter, and we did one for East Devon, we did one for the FSB, Chamber of Commerce, and so on and so forth. And what we did, which was quite useful, Plymouth very kindly did a PowerPoint video of how to use the toolkit. So all we had to do was introduce the toolkit and then play the video. So it had a consistent message across, which is very, very useful, and saved us missing things. Sometimes on a webinar you do miss things, like sometimes on webinars you do end up pulling sort of funny faces like I did. So someone did a screenshot of that and sent that to me. So that was quite odd. Just a word of warning, don't pull funny faces. So that's where we were with the COVID toolkit. It got lots of exposure, and we had a lot of hits on the Growth Hub website, and it got sent out nationally. So for us, what's next? Just still business as usual to be done. COVID is this swirling haze of mist all around us. We don't know when it's going to go, and we need to do business as usual. So what we did there was, okay, let's revisit our projects we had prior to that, one of which was one of our strategic projects is allergens, and we put on an allergen awareness webinar over this morning and tomorrow and next week. We've got one, and what we did, we used the Growth Hub to host it, and the Growth Hub hosting on their website, and also the Growth Hub's Eventbrite page, which is quite useful because that then enables the Growth Hub to retain the data of attendees so that they can therefore, if you like, give them that wraparound care of business support that is available, not just the allergens webinar. And as you can see at the bottom there, we've maintained that relationship with our partners across the southwest, so much so that Devon and Plymouth Chamber of Commerce are very kindly actually hosting the webinars on Zoom. So instead of having to go through, as I'm sure you're aware, a lot of local authority processes to try and use Zoom, the Devon Chamber provided theirs. So that's quite useful. They can host about 500, which I don't think we'll break that, but nonetheless, it's very useful to be using them as a partner like this. And then, of course, what's next? It's the B word, isn't it? It's that B word. Although we can't say that anymore. We've got to say UK transition. We can't say Brexit. So yeah, the B word. So as a partnership, we've got a Brexit group or UK transition group, what you want to call it. of various different trained standards and environmental health officers who have got expertise in certain areas. So as notifications come out from government, we're starting to put together sort of toolkits. I'm getting fed up with the word toolkits, but if you like, documents or toolkits. So for example, UKCA mark, we've provided businesses with a walkthrough of that. Exporting products of animal origin, that is a toolkit because there's quite a few links there, but it creates a journey through. And so we're working as a partnership, delivering EU transition resources to businesses, again, via the Growth Hub, so that they can host it and manage that. And we're evolving a little bit with that. So we are working with the Southwest Strategic Regulation Regional Network. And I dare you to say that at 10 o'clock when you get kicked out of the pub on a Friday night. The Southwest Strategic Regulation Regional Network, to try and expand that and collaborate much closer. So it's not just us doing the work. We're hoping that the Bath, Cornwall and Bournemouth and Christchurch Pool Council will do that as well. So we've started to create some resources, and the whole area are looking to sort of work together and collaborate together and share the resources and share the manpower for that, or woman power. So I'm afraid that's all from me. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll be hanging around to hear anything else, any questions and so on and so forth. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Jason and David. I'm going to leave my camera off, I think, because we tend to get network problems otherwise. We've got a couple of minutes if anybody does have any questions. I hope you are all still there. Oh, Teresa?
Oh, hello. I just wanted to ask a little bit more. Quite a few of the speakers have talked about their strategic regulation regional network, and obviously this event is about them starting the Northwest and utilising the Northwest regional network. So I suppose to the speakers, I'd say, what do you see as the benefits that you've received by being part of the regional networks? So there's obviously Jason and David in the Southwest, and there's Ian and Paul in the Southeast. Can we take it from Paul and Ian first? Hi, Paul, we can't hear you. Can you just...
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. What was the question again? Well, so in
terms of the Southeast Regional Network, you obviously you talked about what some benefits that you'd had. What did you see the benefits of joining that network to your part? What you've done? Well,
the main benefit, particularly when the group was still in its infancy, was sharing best practice, seeing what was going on at the other regions, and you know, taking some of their ideas and using them for our own needs, and seeing how their partnerships, how their groups work in terms of the corporate setup that they have. You know, as I said, we see that groups that have a buy-in from senior management level seem to be a lot more successful than those that don't. It's just seeing what works elsewhere and trying to take that and use it in your own area, really.
Thank you, Paul. Ian, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, excuse me. Sort of coming into this environment from a sort of more commercial background, it was interesting to sort of witness how, because we've been part of this, I think, for about 3 years or so, maybe a little longer, how the group has developed, and as they've taken more advice and seen what's happening elsewhere, absorbing those ideas and then using that to come up with their own ideas. It's been really interesting to witness that sort of evolution happening.
Oh, that's correct. Thank you very much, Ian. That's brilliant. Because I think you were the only ones to do a roadshow and to use the the Sussex Fire and Rescue Services roadshow vehicle. So well done to you guys. over to Jason and David.
Hi, yeah, for me, it's about the collaboration, and there's no need to reinvent the wheel. If one BBFA partnership is doing something, let's share it. I think that's really important, because we're all very, very busy, got lots to do, and there's no point every BBFA partnership reinventing the same wheel. So for me, it's that collaborative approach and the joined up working.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Fantastic speakers today, and thanks all of you for giving your time up to talk and share your experiences of Better Business for All. I think what I continually heard was knowledge sharing and benefits to business, and I think really the quality of the work that you've done and the relationships you've built. I guess that's the power of Better Business for All, and that is down to that collaboration and the conversations that all of you are having in that business support arena, and that ultimately leads to benefit businesses, and that is your common goal. So that's been really, really helpful. We are out of time. If there is anything anybody wants to raise, absolutely do that post meeting. But I would encourage those of you who are in the session today to join in with the other sessions that we're running through the week. We're running them every day up until Friday, and you'll get to hear from regulators, you'll get to hear from growth hubs, and we've also got ACAS, Federation of Small Businesses, and the Chamber. So you're going to get to hear the perspective from others around business support, hopefully with the view to developing stronger BBFA relationships in the Northwest. So thanks again, everybody, for your time, and I hope you have a really nice afternoon. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.